Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs about what's going on at their companies. With us today, happy to have him for the first time ever, Perry Little, CEO of Green River Gold, trades in Canada, CCR for friends in the US, CCRRF. Why are you going to love this interview? In a world where gold is now comfortably sitting over and around $2,000, and electric vehicles are driving paradigm-shifting demand for battery metals, small cap resource companies are thriving, but often they force investors into choosing one or the other. Well, Green River Gold is a small cap resource company that has way more to offer than the name implies, thanks to assembling a powerhouse set of projects in British Columbia that include the Quesnel Nickel Project, the Fontaine Gold Project, the Kymar Silver Project, and the KaLi Pegmatite Project. What they have in common, and I love it, is being located in some of British Columbia's most highly prospective mining districts. Now, a lot of you may not have heard of the story because they've been in a strategic stealth mode while assembling, drilling, raising money, and getting ready to come to the market. Now they're ready to come out and talk to the world. Perry, welcome to the show, my friend.
It's great to see you, George. How are you doing?
Doing great. It's St. George's Day, so this is going to be a great interview. We're going to have the luck of the Georges today. Let me get to my first question. Your name says gold, but your focus, especially in the short term, is on the Quesnel Nickel Project, which has got more than just nickel. What are some of the highlights of Quesnel that are forcing you guys to really focus on it?
Sure. Well, we went out to Quesnel in 2016, 2017 with a private company. We were looking for gold. We staked a great gold property in 2019. And when we staked it, we were aware there was one corner of it that might have some nickel, and we knew there was a big talc deposit on it. We could talk about that later too. And so we staked that as almost a sideline. 2021, we shot a mag survey on it, and we suddenly realized that maybe that nickel was worth more than we thought. So we went over and started drilling at the end of 2021. And yeah, we've got a lot of nickel there. We've got nickel, magnesium, cobalt, chromium, and one corner of what we call zone 1, which is a giant outcrop. We've got a pile of talc. It was actually studied back in the 1980s, and they were going to build a talc mine there. And I still think we could have a talc mine there.
We'll talk about talc in a second, but let's stick to this first, the nickel, because that's on everyone's mind. You've hit this more than just a mag survey. You've drilled and you've hit on all 42 of your holes, right? I mean, what an amazing feat to be focusing on the Fontaine Gold Project and to discover this. What kind of results in general? I'm not asking for specific drill intercepts, but what kind of results in general have you guys been getting? How promising are the results in these drill results?
Sure. Well, a little bit of size first, because this is big. This would be a big bulk tonnage deposit is what it would be. And it's about 14 kilometers long. We've got 2 easy spots to drill, 2 great big hills, tower about 700 feet above the other parts of the Caribou Mountains where we are. And they're big, solid, bald mountains, if you want. And zone 1 and zone 2, they're 8 kilometers apart. And we've hit about 20 holes in each of them. We hit in every hole right from the surface of the bedrock. So the first meter looks like the 30th meter. It's about 0.18% nickel, about 20% magnesium, decent chromium numbers, a little bit of cobalt, but the consistency is the amazing part, and no overburden. As soon as we enter the bedrock, it's there. And I don't recall, I've studied and invested in Lord knows how many different junior mining companies over the years. I don't recall anybody putting 42 holes in and not hitting bedrock. It starts at surface.
And the amazing is the 2 zones. And by the way, thanks on behalf of all shareholders in the world, they call them zone 1 and zone 2 instead of these funky names that companies trying to come up with and nobody can remember which is which. I love zone 1, but they're almost 10 kilometers apart. So that's really special, right, Perry? You're not just maybe hitting a little deposit somewhere it's not going to go anywhere. When they're 10 kilometers apart, what does that tell you and your team about what you may have there?
Well, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. We don't know the depth yet. The deepest we've gone is 129 meters. We just started drilling again on Friday, actually, and we're drilling one that's in between the 2 zones. We drilled a couple in between. We hit the same stuff in between as well.
Wow.
But yeah, it's very large. 14 kilometers long is huge when you're starting directly at surface. We will find out what's there at depth. This is an unusual thing to have in the middle of a gold field. Everything around us is gold. We've got 200 square kilometers of prospective gold property between two gold mines on trend with other gold mines. But in the middle of it, there's this great big ridge of ultramafic rock, and that's where the nickel is. And it is big, and it's at surface, so the tonnage is going to add up very, very quickly.
And
So,
you're not, you kind of touched on it there because I was going to go there with that. You're not out in the middle of nowhere. You're in a great neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
I mean, tell us a little bit about who's close by to give
Yeah.
everyone an indication that you're just not in the middle of nowhere where you're not going to be economic or good luck trying to get to you.
This is a wonderful infrastructure project. We are 45 kilometers from the town, or it's actually a city, the city of Quesnel, which is about 23,000 people. It's about an hour and a quarter south of Prince George, which has close to 100,000 people. You were Prince George. Anyway, it's basically 45 minutes, most of that on pavement on Highway 26. And then you zoom off for about 15 kilometers on a well-improved logging road. And that logging road actually forms the western boundary of our property, and that's where the nickel is, on the western edge of that property. So we can drive right up to where we're drilling. So we have our guys leave the shop in Quesnel at at 8 o'clock, and by 8:45 they're standing at the drill rig. Unbelievably economic to develop, and it would be very economic to build and produce from there as well. Osisko is immediately to the east of us. They are developing a mine there that'll get up to, I believe they're ramping up to 200,000 ounces per year. It's the old Barkerville Gold Mines property.
Yep, they just raised $52 million on that. So,
oh yeah, and they'll have no problem raising money for that one. Osisko did everybody up there a great big favor. Thank you, Osisko. We staked our ground originally in March of 19, and in August of 19 we closed it, and in September of 19, with unbelievably good fortune for us, Osisko bought Barkerville Gold Mines for $335 million, and that was the property right next door. So we've increased just recently the amount of ground we've got that touches up to them, and they're a great neighbor. But they brought the missing ingredient. The Caribou was the home of the old Caribou Gold Rush back in the 1860s, 1870s. Barkerville, which is just a little ghost town, just I don't know, Black Creek Pioneer Village or West Edmonton Village kind of thing, right? West Edmonton Village, what do they call it? I'm drawing a blank on the name of our own tourist attraction.
yeah, not the West Edmonton Mall. That's not what we're
not
talking
West Edmonton
about.
Mall, no, Fort Edmonton Park. But they only open up in the summer. They teach you how to gold pan, and they have the little Wild West shows and stuff. It's a tourist attraction. That's what Barkerville is now. Barkerville in 1865 was the largest community west of Chicago and north of San Francisco in North America. There were 5,000 people living up there. So they didn't run out of gold. They ran out of capital, and there's been no capital up there since the 1860s, 1870s. Well, Cisco changed that in 2019. They came up there and they just said, we're going to build a gold mine here, and they started drilling, and the whole area heated up. It was just fabulous.
So what's next steps for you now, Perry? You just said you guys continued drilling. It's not like you started. You continue drilling on Friday. How much drilling you guys doing? How long will that last? Ballpark, when do you expect assays to start coming back?
Well, we just started drilling another 5 holes. We're drilling them with a drill that we sort of modify in our own shop. We have a private company there that supplies drilling services and you name it, equipment, supplies, everything to the mining industry. And that's the shop that we operate Green River from as well. So it's a 6,000 square foot shop with all the things that we need to drive an exploration company. Our geologists rent space in there. Our people are all in there. So it's very easy to drive the program. We're doing 5 holes right now. They'll go down about 150 meters each. That'll take a few weeks to get those in. And by then we should have permits that we've applied for already for the deeper drilling program. We're going to drill 20 holes. That'll go down about 300 meters using a larger drill. Hope to have that going by the early summer. And that'll take probably about 100 days realistically from start to finish.
And was it Quesnel that was the catalyst to you guys raising almost $600,000 recently? Is that the market telling you, hey, put that money to drill Quesnel?
No question, that's what it's for. And we want to raise some more before too long because we'd like to focus a little more on gold. It's funny, for 2 years, nobody was asking me about gold. And now all of a sudden, everybody's asking me, what are you going to do with the
$2,000.
gold project? And that's why we saw that coming. So we doubled the amount of, we used to have 94 square kilometers. We've now got over 200 square kilometers that is in between two gold mines, because we've got Amanika on the other side of us with a really unique underground alluvial gold mine. So we're between gold mines to the east and west. And if you go south, everything trends sort of northwest to southeast. But if you go on that trend, we go down through Karis Gold is down at the bottom. That one's about 27% owned by Eric Sprott. You've got Spanish Mountain Gold doing a feasibility study for a gold mine. Imperial Metals, Mount Poly mine is down there. A little bit off to the south and west is Gibraltar, which is the second largest open pit copper mine. This is all probably within in Canada. This is probably all within 60 kilometers as the crow flies. So
Yeah,
we're in a fabulous mining area. As far as
the
infrastructure
district has
goes,
produced over 4 million ounces of gold, from what I understand, right? So there's real history there. Again, the beauty is you're not George Com Gold or George Com Nickel. It's got some great results, but out in the middle of nowhere that nobody can reach and is impossible to get to. You can drive back and forth to Tim Hortons, in between drill
that's it.
holes,
The
right?
guys get a coffee in the morning. By the time they get to the drill site, the coffee's not even cold yet. So it's great. We've got Osisko's putting in 3-phase power. That'll go about 15 kilometers away from our property. Brand new 3-phase power line. We got highway access. Quesnel's right on Highway 97. It's a main north-south thoroughfare through that part of the province. The main rail line is right there. They have an airport. We've got all the infrastructure you could ever need to build a project. It's fabulous. And
What's next step? What's next step by the way, we've been talking about the Fontaine Gold Project. I know we've mentioned the name a couple of times, but we kind of hopped for Quesnel right to Fontaine. But what's next for the Fontaine Gold Project? Or you folks in drilling for now on Quesnel and just wait until Osisko maybe puts in a little more infrastructure? What's next for Fontaine?
we'll be doing some work on Fontaine this summer for sure. Our neighbors have kind of helped us to find out where to look for the gold. There's something interesting about the Caribou. A lot of the hills up there, they're forested. This isn't like the Canadian Shield projects or up in northern Ontario where I grew up, where the rocks sticking up out of the ground. There's glacial till, gravel that the glaciers left behind, and forests have grown on top of that stuff. So above the bedrock, you've got a bunch of stuff obscuring it, make it difficult to grab rock chips and just drill from surface. Not impossible, but difficult. We've got a little bit of work that's been done by our neighbors that'll make it an awful lot easier. So Amanika's got a project or a target just across the logging road from us that they're hoping to drill. And
Love the neighborhood.
maybe our private company be involved in drilling it. We'll see. And the other side, we actually were able to stake very close to Osisko found a parallel trend to the main trend that their gold mine is on not that long ago. We were able to stake up fairly close to that. So we should be able to piggyback off some of the results that they've had, and that will help us with our exploration. So yeah, we're pumped.
Perry, what does it say about your team that you guys were able to acquire such a great, or put together, stake and assemble such a great project in a place that you think, was so jam-packed that other people would have found it long before you guys? What does it say about the quality of your team that you're able to stake all this, and you've now extended Fontaine's gold into Quesnel's nickel? Give us just a little taste of your team, because it's a pretty nice team on the technical side.
Thank you. That's a great intro. We know the right people up there. It's a little bit of background on how we ended up there, and that'll tell you how we developed the team. It's all local people, and they know the area, which is fabulous. So we went up there in 2016 with some private money to do some placer mining, and found out that's a lot tougher than it looks. So we tried that in 2016, 17, and realized very quickly there was more money to be made supplying the local miners and providing services to them. So we picked up a 6,000 square foot building, but the whole time I was up there, I was looking for hard rock property as well, and even placer property. And but we were very diligent at it. So we got Green River Gold going in 2017, and we didn't pick up our first property until March of 19. So it wasn't that we weren't looking. We were walking all over that bush trying to find the best unstaked property in the vicinity
You hit a
of the old
doozy.
Martinville gold mines, right? I done a lot of due diligence up that way. I knew the area a bit. I knew some of the geologists, but our senior geologist is Steve Kosis. Steve's been up there. He's sort of the guru of that area. He's been living up in the Caribou area for about 40 years. Knows
Wow.
everything about every property up there. So we got Steve as our senior guy, our QP. We have a young dynamo by the name of Tyler Tian, who is up in Quesnel so often that he rents office space from us up there. And he's our bush guy, and he's sharp. He's dedicated. He's wonderful. And we have a project manager who's just sort of a savant who picks up on everything very quickly. And what our guys do that I think more companies should do, they spend a lot of time prospecting in the library. There's a massive amount of information that's been developed over the years and is on file. The BC Min files are a wealth of information. And you can go through there and you can find stuff that's been missed. They were looking for one thing and they found something else and abandoned it, but the old nickel showings that were on that property, the geologist, and we had another geologist working with us at the time. She's not with us now, but she helped us she was also local, and she helped us to find that nickel property and the Talc property. So it's the key is having local people. And because we have a shop, we don't pay any rent. Our head office is Edmonton. It's my accountant's office. Basically, we use as our de
Yeah,
facto head
just for the
office.
mail, right? I mean, the head
Just
office
for
for
the
the mail.
mail. And when we have an office, when we need to meet people here, we have a storefront office, that's great. But we don't pay any rent here. We basically pay a bit of rent for that 6,000 square foot building with
Lean and
access
mean. I
to
like
a
it.
2 square yard. We're right on the main drag with big signage on it, whatever. And all of our key decision makers are good people, strong people. But the other thing is they're local. They understand the local geology. They understand the local workforce. And we're able to employ a bunch of local people, to get things done. A little different than a lot of mining companies. And I'm not knocking the other mining companies, but most of them have a storefront
Yeah, you
office.
fly in the talent, right? You just fly in the talent. Hey, let's talk a little bit about timing and sometimes good fortune. Look, you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. You talked about how you guys were first up there 2015, 16, look for placer, then you're looking around. And how do you feel about the macro, given the fact that you're now coming into your own, just as gold is broken through 2000 and really wants to establish a new floor there, and at the same time, the electric vehicle complex and how it's driving battery metals, especially nickel, is really starting to hit overdrive now. Because 3 or 4 years ago, you probably wouldn't have had nearly as much attention. So how do you feel about the macro? How do you guys feel about your timing that all this activity, the successes, early success is happening right as the macro is huge in your favor on both sides?
It's good timing. It actually took a little longer than I thought it would, to be honest with you. On the gold, I thought gold was ready to erupt in 2016. So I'm a little surprised it took this long. It's good. It'll let us acquire more property and get more work done on it and get it ready to go and acquire another big chunk just recently. So the gold part of it, I'm a gold bug from way back when. And, I think gold takes off here at some point. It was a reason I originally decided I was going to do this. It was a bug out for friends and family. It was a way to establish ourselves in that sector before it took off. And so I think the stars are lining up for gold to go again. And you're right, the timing has worked out very well for us. On the nickel side of things, got to admit we had some luck there. I mean, we knew there was potential for some
Got to
nickel
be
on that
lucky to be
property.
good to be lucky.
We had no idea how good that potential was, but we picked it up for nothing, for staking costs, and it turns out that we've got a lot of it. If you're a gold bug, you've also got to be a silver bug, right? And I think silver could do better than gold. So a couple of years back, we actually acquired a silver property as well. It's a much smaller piece of the puzzle at this point, but there's about 1,600 about 16 square kilometers of silver property we've got with a bunch of old artisanal mines, and that's down near Invermere, BC. So we've got that one as well. And that was, again, we looked at the silver and we looked at that property. We were thinking of staking it. And I don't know if you remember the silver squeeze from a couple of years ago, where the Reddit crowd got all over silver. Well, we saw some of the properties we were looking at started getting staked up. So we jumped on what we call Kymar silver. And that's another one that we think is a butte that,
Nice.
is not right at the top of our list. We'll do a bit of work on it again this year.
So on the
But we
precious
got
metals,
some,
you got Fontaine gold, you got Kymar silver, and then on the battery metal side, you've got Quesnel nickel, and also the KaLi Pegmatite project, right? A newly acquired lithium project.
it's not even a week old yet in our portfolio, so we don't have much on the presentation on that. We've been on the road ever since we staked it. Yeah, that was one we'd had our eye on for a while, and it's about 10 square kilometers of property. It's about 3 hours from our shop, so again, very easy for us to send a crew down, do the basic exploration on it. We'll do a bit of work on it once the snow's gone. There's still snow out there in the mountains. You know where we're drilling? It's amazing. We're in Quesnel, right, which is a little town. It's in the valley, right where the Quesnel River and the Fraser River meet. It's about 7.5 hour drive north of Vancouver. And Lake Edmonton, the snow's been gone there for a while, right? It's the same latitude basically as where I am in Edmonton. The snow here has been gone for a while. When you leave Quesnel and you drive up to our drill site, you go pretty much straight uphill. So 85 kilometers, you hit Wells, which is the end of the paved road, and you're 2,500 feet higher by the time you get to Wells, which means a lot more snow.
Yeah, it means a lot.
So our guys were getting ready to drill
250
the other
stories.
day. They were still drilling 4 or 5 feet of snow. It was crazy. And this is this week, right? So, but it goes quickly, and we'll be back out there drilling again. But we found another one just 3 hours ago, or 5 days ago, rather. We staked it, and it's a 3 hour drive away from Quesnel, and it's near a little town called 100 Mile House. And it was originally explored back in the early 60s by Noranda. And they were looking for molybdenum. Everybody who's ever had the property seems to have been looking for molybdenum, and there is some there. They didn't find enough to make it exciting. Maybe it's there in quantity, we don't know, but that's what they were after. But they did assays for other things as well, and they did discover pegmatite down there, and it looks like it might be the right type of pegmatite that could potentially host lithium. It's got some of the other indicators: tin, beryllium, barium. They did test for that, but back in those days, nobody tested for lithium or rare earths, which could be potential down there. So for a whopping $1,819, we managed to pick up 10 square kilometers down there, and we'll send a crew down there within a few weeks and do a little poking around with the backpack drill and get some samples and see whether there's any potential for lithium.
I'll give you $2,890, give you a good $1,000, 65% profit on that right here. Shareholders would be happy to hear you flip that for 65%. I'll take it off your hands. Hey, last question for you, Perry. If we had finished the discussion after Quesnel, would have been a great interview, and there's so much to look forward to. If we had finished this discussion after Fontaine, would have been an amazing interview, amazing things to look forward to. Now we talk about some other things, but one thing we didn't talk about, and I just want to touch on it for just a couple of minutes, and we'll get into it, is talc. You touched on at the beginning. That's part of your Quesnel, nickel, magnesium, talc. People don't realize that that's what, a $3 billion market, I believe, or something like that. So tell us a little bit, just let's touch on it here. We'll go into a deeper dive another time, but let's touch on what you got in terms of talc and why you guys are kind of excited about that.
A portion of what we call Zone 1 was studied extensively back in the 1980s by some guys who were going to build a talc mine. And talc is the softest of all minerals. It's the source of talcum powder, among other things, but that's probably 1% of the overall market. Because of its properties being the softest mineral, it gets used extensively in ceramics, paper, plastics, rubber. There's just a million industrial uses for it, industrial solvents. So it's about a $3 billion annual market. And the natural market for us would be the pulp and paper stuff, because there are 5 mills that use products derived from talc that are within an hour and a half of Quesnel.
Everything's an hour and a half from Quesnel. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It makes it easy. It's a good little spot, actually. It's not as isolated as you think. So we've got it was categorized as medium and high grade talc back when they found it. But again, just like everything else on that area, Zone 1, it's in the first meter. So honestly, when you bring up the drill core, the first meter of drill core, it looks like solid rock drill core, and you can scrape it with your thumbnail and get white powder coming off it. So even in the first 60 feet, we average about 50% talc. And once you get
how good is
that,
by the way? Because none of us have any ideas. 50% talc really good. Is it average? Is it
It's high. It's really high.
Okay.
And once you get down below 50 below about 40 feet, actually, it starts to become predominantly talc. So the material is 80 to 95% talc once you get below that. So you've got this soft stuff that's like a soapstone type material. Becomes difficult to pull up with a drill, actually, but it sells milled talc sells for an average of $270 US per ton in the US last year. There are multiple uses for it. We have a bunch of it starting right at surface. We don't know how deep it goes. We've gone down 129 meters so far, and it's still there. So it's going to be big. It's going to be easily accessible. And remember, this isn't
So
an
literally
open
just
pit
scoop it
yet.
out. If you have enough, you just kind of scoop it out, put in the back of process a little bit, and you got a product. Is that how it works?
Pretty much. We don't even have to scoop it out. We have to remember this is the top of a 700-foot hill, right? So before we can get to digging a pit, we have to scrape off a 700-foot hill first. So our rock trucks would be running downhill, not uphill. So if you had good regenerative braking, I think you could save a lot of money coming back uphill. So yeah, it's a really interesting product. But here's the weird thing: when we went over and we drilled there first because the magnetic survey showed that we had this magnetic image coming off the area where we knew where the talc was. So the first place we went was to drill where the talc was, and we found out that we have 0.15, 0.16% nickel coexisting with the talc. Now in Finland, there's at least one mine that mines talc and strips the nickel out of the tailings. So here's a crazy thought for you. Okay, just do a little mind game here. Imagine 0.2% nickel. Okay, just for the sake of argument, your waste rock is 99.8% of your mining operation. Okay, that's the way the math would work. Picture this one where let's just round the nickel up, say it's 0.2% nickel, ignore the magnesium, the chromium, the cobalt credits, everything else. Just say we got 0.2% nickel. 99.8% of our waste rock, well, the vast majority of that is talc, which is a saleable commodity.
Awesome. That's
okay,
awesome.
So this is either a talc mine with a pile of nickel, or it's a nickel mine with your byproduct, your waste rock, all being sellable items. So
either way, it's going to be a great summer, great 2023 for Green River. That's why I said in my intro, you've been strategically in stealth mode while assembling, drilling, raising cash, putting everything together. And now this is your coming out party. So Perry, I mean, we could go on literally for another hour. And we have, talk about Kymar, go deep dive into all of it, but we'll leave a little bit, on the table for everybody else to kind of want next time you're back. But this has been amazing. And I can't wait to see, you're going to be back on a number of times, but I just can't wait to see what happens when you guys start drilling at Fontaine and when you guys start drilling at Quesnel and the results you've already started drilling at Quesnel and when all that comes back. I can't wait to have you back, but it's an amazing story, my friend.
I'm thrilled. It's got so many moving parts, it becomes a difficult story to tell. But it's nice to have all those moving parts.
Yeah, listen, a lot of moving parts. That's why, we're here with you, be able to splice it into segments of different stories. Yeah. Makes a lot, because you can't say it all in the press release, right? You can't, it's just too much. So when we do these kind of interviews, it becomes so much easier for everyone to really understand just how, prospective Green River is. So I can't wait to have you back, my friend.
Thank you. It'll be great to be back.
To everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. To Perry Little, President and CEO at Green River Gold, trades on the stock symbol CCR. We'll tell that story another time because you might be wondering how that symbol is related to Green River Gold. And in the US, CCRRF. For those of you in the story that's going to be joining us, all of you, and you want to know more, get the company's profile page in the Agoracom and or link directly to the company's main website to do your deep dive due diligence. Because if you believe in what's happening in precious metals, especially gold, if you believe in what's happening in battery metals, especially nickel, then you've got to take a close look at Green River Gold. Keep it on your radar, and don't tell us 12 months from now that we didn't tell you so. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.